I'm the flyest motherfucker at the kickback. Not a competition, little boy with a wrist that. Meet me in the bathroom, I don't want to chit chat. She not a boyfriend, heard he got a six-pack.
Welcome to the podcast. We're here, we're back. Running it back because last time that fucking camera didn't record. So we're running it back. And we got two different camera angles. Like if you guys can see the setup right now, it's
Pretty
insane.
wild.
What were you looking for? Like did you already have this in mind when you came?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off with a quick intro. My name is JT, videographer, extraordinaire, up and coming.
Extraordinaire. I like that.
Just starting out there. Like I throw the up and coming, kind of bounce that out. But yeah, pretty much my main job for the last 3 months is doing videography services, editing, things of that nature. But just to open up with that, to answer your question, yes, I kind of did have this in mind. I did a lot of research because initially, when I first started doing this thing about 3 months ago, I could only afford a certain amount of equipment, right? Which ultimately, at the end of the day, equipment plays a factor. But as I can attest to you, saying as a key example, the equipment does help a tiny bit, but more so it's the camera guy or the person behind the camera, or in this case, since you're in front of the camera, the person manipulating the camera. So with that being said, I try to find the perfect balance between, I don't want to get the most expensive thing because I'm not at that level. I'm not making money initially when I first started. So
It's like you'll know when the time is right to get those expensive equipments.
Exactly. And then for the most part, I wanted to start cheap. That's all I can afford. So I went out and got this Canon R50, which is going to be pointed at you, which hopefully in a short section, you'll be able to see how some of that it's look with us together collaborating. And it got me by pretty far within this 3-month time frame. It was able to get like my first couple paid gigs. I was able to do some video journalism type, for the news stations, freelance, of course, which I want to talk to you about that, which I think for the whole podcast, touch a little bit on the life, and we'll do a couple of little like random whatevers. But
yeah, how did you get it? Like, how do you find your clients for your videography services?
That's a great question. The first thing I ever did to acquire clients was essentially do a lot of free work. That's okay. A lot of free work.
Because there's mixed opinions on that.
That's actually a really good topic.
Because I've heard a lot about, you should do a lot of work for free, and there's also people that say, no, fuck that. You should always be getting paid for everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. When I first got into this industry,
right,
I was more the latter of those people's sentiments, more thinking like I need to get paid for everything I do, like everything. Like my time's not worth for free. It's not free.
Yeah.
Right. And I was pretty confident about that. I was like, fuck no. Like I've made success in other industries, and I'm like, why not? I'm not gonna do for free. So
yeah.
But
I'm worth more than that.
Exactly. But in due time, I realized I was gonna be a counterproductive approach, because how am I gonna get paid work if I don't have any work to speak of? Kind of like the saying goes with like some job applications, like, you require experience before you get the job. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. So you have to build that portfolio up first, and then you can start charging up for the work that comes up next.
Exactly. And for the most part, I kind of quickly realized like I'm just gonna have to do some free work, and then see what happens. And after watching a few YouTube videos and seeing other people's perspective and my similar setup, and then through speaking through other people and their anecdotal evidence, I took the plunge and I started working with the DJ as my first client, quote unquote. So
a DJ was your first client ever?
Yeah, ever per se. Yeah,
you just hit him up and was like, "Hey, bro, I got you with some photos and videos."
Pretty much. And he was like, "Oh, for sure, dude, I'm super down." And especially as soon as I told him it's free, it's like, I just need.
He was down even more.
What I'm saying? We're soon to find out it's kind of not a lucrative industry in the videographer. I'm an up-and-coming videographer, so to say. But so started doing that for a little bit. It was beneficial for one, because you get a lot of practical on-hand experience without the stress of like, this is a paid client. I don't want to mess up my reputation. I don't want to fuck up, right? But in this case, since it's essentially like a homie of mine, saying who ultimately we ended up being pretty cool with each other till to this day, even though we don't work together anymore. And I realized that that's not the industry for me. I quickly learned like the experience, how to set things up, how it gave me an idea how a general idea of what the workday could be for a videographer, cinematographer, things like that nature, right? And
So a little bit more of an expectation towards yourself or what you're setting yourself up for.
pretty much, yeah. Just trial by fire, essentially. Just trying to see what it's about, do it, and see what happens, and where the cards, what made the cards fall within me. And luckily, I met a lot of people, networked a lot. It was in downtown LA. Luckily, he had a nice setups, dude. He had a father who actually hooked him up with like locations on like skyscrapers and stuff like that, like tall buildings and like apartment buildings where like
So you had shots everywhere.
so we had nice shots, man, nice little mini music videos and mini setups and stuff like that, and it was good, bro, because it exposed me to a lot of shooting scenarios in which I had to figure out how to do good lighting with like with no lighting or like minimal lighting and try to make it work. And in terms, I had to mess around with the camera systems and try to learn that. Because keep in mind, before I did this 3 months ago, I've had like a little bit of experience with the cameras, but only pictures and with like older systems, right? And then I guess let me back up a little bit. Before I started the plunge into just doing videography, I didn't just wake up one day. I'm like, I'm gonna try. Fuck it. Right now.
I'm gonna do videography today.
Pretty much.
For the rest of my life.
I mean, it was kind of like that, but I was doing IT work mainly and working for the company. Didn't like it, even though it was being good, so I decided to leave that. I got a course explaining mobile filmmaking because I had the iPhone 14, and they were saying that like those cameras are pretty equivalent. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos showing like the quality, like comparison of like between like $5,000 cameras versus like iPhone camera. And the secret to getting great camera footage in an iPhone specifically for my experience is to definitely control your lighting. If you get really good lighting, I'm sure you can probably test this, right?
Yeah, lighting makes a huge difference in your shots.
Especially for the iPhone camera specifically, since the sensor is so small, they can't absorb enough of the light into the sensor, right? So with that being said, if you get the highest quality light, brighter light, the less, I guess that's scientifically how that works, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So
when I first started up this podcast, I had like 2 little light sources, kind of like that, to be honest with you, but it was just boom, boom, and they weren't that bright at all.
Yeah.
But it was super grainy. You couldn't see anything. It was very low quality. And these 2 cameras that I have for the podcast aren't like super high quality, as you can say. But I got these 2 lights and I was like, okay, my problems are done. They're fixed. I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Definitely.
But then I tried recording and it still wasn't like all the way to the point that I wanted it to be. I was like, man. So I started messing with the light positions, putting it there, putting it here, trying this way, trying that way. And you can literally see like between 2 episodes, the huge difference of when I like kind of cracked the lighting, because you can tell the big difference in the quality. I think I have a picture on Instagram and it has the difference between the before and the after of the lighting. I was like, lighting plays a huge difference in your photography and videography.
Big time, especially with like lower end and cell phone type cameras, saying the lighting. I mean, it just amplifies it more if you have a great camera, but for the lower performance wise cameras and all cameras in the cell phones, lighting is key, as you and I both know. Right. So, but to the story regarding like how I got into this, actually, I didn't even have the camera yet before I took the plunge. I actually took the plunge with the iPhone. So that's what I did. I forgot now that I remember. So I bought a course saying mobile filmmaking, which literally taught me the A to Z on how to do cinematic style filmmaking, product commercials, things like that. But specifically niches where they're more like you can structure them and package them and sell them as a service, professional services, right? Because ultimately I wanted to make money off doing this, right?
Right.
So I wanted to figure out the angle so I can support myself doing this, right? Excuse me. So, I did my research. I picked up a Sandmark anamorphic lens.
Okay.
I'm not sure. They screw on their phone. Like literally this phone, he screws on. And then I got some ND filters and polarizers. So probably all in all, I already had the iPhone. I probably spent like $200, $300, maybe in total. That's just with like the lenses, the software, which is Filmic Pro, and then Beastcam, which in my opinion, those two apps are the only apps you'll need for filmmaking on mobile, which you can get away with a lot, honestly, because it helps unlock all the features within the camera itself that you won't have access to within a native camera app, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest thing being able to unlock the ability to record in 10-bit HDR mode, which allows you to retain a lot more of the information. So especially if you're doing color grading, things like that, you can just retain more information and are able to manipulate the information before it starts like degrading the image quality, right?
For people who don't know what that means, I'm gonna simplify it a lot.
Thank you.
Basically, your camera in your iPhone have high quality, but app allow you to have more quality, meaning more playroom.
Exactly. I love it.
I hope that makes sense.
Keep it simple. But yeah, so once I figured out the essentials and I did some test trials on my own stuff, doing some like little BS type little videos and stuff, like trying to make them cinematic. Oh, and also purchasing the subscription service for Premiere Pro, which honestly, if I were to go back and start it again, I'd probably just start off on DaVinci Resolve, which honestly, I still want to. I'm about to, bro. I'm about to, honestly, on that note. But I just when I want to master Premiere Pro, which I feel like I'm probably like 60% there. Once I get to like 80, 90% like confident with it, like I feel like I got it mastered that much, then I'll start slowly dumping in DaVinci because I haven't downloaded everything, the free version. I'm not ready for it yet.
Yeah. You're not ready
really
to make that transition?
Yeah, I'm sorry?
You're not ready to make that transition over to DaVinci?
No, not yet. It's too much, and especially with everything else going on, me just trying to stabilize and get to a sustainable, profitable business endeavor with this stuff. I'm gonna chill out on that. So
what do you want to do with videography? Like, what's your main focus when it comes to doing your work in videography? Is it more towards your creative side? Is it more for a business money-making side? How do you see it going down the line? Like compared to now and then in the future? Like, do you think it'll ever change?
Yeah, no, for sure. The thing is, when I first started, I didn't know. And I still don't necessarily know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I feel
Figuring
like,
it out?
Yeah, still figuring it out. So I figured I'll just try it all, see what sticks, see what doesn't. And then from the ones that stick, if it's not enough where it dilutes me too much, or if it does dilute me too much, I'll cut out more out of those ones that I like and just leave the ones that are gonna kind of the best balance between it allows me to unlock my creativity, but also is profitable enough to make and upgrade or what's the word? To level up essentially, and
make more, and evolve a little bit,
evolve and profit more. You know.
Yeah. So it's like you've already learned. I said this before. My friend Jamal actually taught me this. It's like you have to learn how to, have that creative side and then also have that business side, so that way you can combine the two and have that creative business.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think those are the ones that succeed the most. Like we were talking before the podcast, Cole Bennett, Lyrical Lemonade. You know, it was his creativity at first, but then he started making it into a business, and now it's just his creative business, and it shows how great his work is.
And then now that you mention that, that's kind of, now that I think about it, that's essentially what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm letting the creativity flow, see where the creativity and what just attracts my attention and my energy. And depending on how that experience goes, either set more roots into it or dispose and try the next thing. So far, that's kind of been the same game plan that I'm doing, and it's led me to what I'm doing now, which is primarily doing I guess you could say UGC style content, or like content stuff, and also working with clients doing their videos for social media. Just simple videos, do simple edits, and then depending on what their business, just promote that on social media. But now it's evolving. Going back to what you're saying, it just kind of just goes with the flow, and then whatever is that combination of creativity and both profitable. She was struggling. Like one of my current clients, she's a lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer based out of Newport. We first started off with the agreement saying that I'm just gonna create the videos and I'm gonna give them to her, and that's it. She's gonna post them, do the caption or anything like that, which is cool. Like, I just want to stick with just doing video because I was like thinking about it, like I don't want to become a content manager, media content manager, or strategist,
or editor for somebody else's
or something
content.
like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So your main focus is just working with the cameras.
Yeah. Well, that's how it's starting, but now it's starting to change.
How so?
We had that agreement. We created a contract, whatever deposits made, all that stuff. Now, kind of find out recently, it's changing because she's a lawyer, and obviously they have a lot of cases. They got a lot of work, and they got a heavy workload, right? They got a lot to do. So she came to me saying, like, you know what, I like the contract that we have. However, I feel like I'm a little bit overwhelmed with my current workload and all that good stuff. So can you take over more of the content management stuff? Essentially, I take over all the social medias while on top of creating a new YouTube channel with 0 subscribers, and then hopefully with my techniques, my expertise, growing those channels, getting possible conversions for her business, and yeah, and also on top of creating the content and doing photo shoots, things like that. So for that, I was able to get on a retainer, which is essentially like she pays me for the month, which is essentially the goal. Which on that course that I bought, essentially it literally laid it out A to Z, which I feel is like a huge testament as the reason why I'm able to be like, because I mean, I told you, bro, like I told you the story. This has only been like 3-4 months. We're going on the 4th month now for me jumping into it.
And it's working out pretty well.
And it's working out pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. In hindsight, like now looking back at it right now, I'm like, holy shit, like this is moving pretty quick. And it's been blessings all around, eternally grateful. But like I was trying to say, so that I got there in a client so we got a 2-month contract, and depending on performance, we either continue or go from there, which based on the course is exactly what the structure of how it should be structured. So really it took out all the guesswork and essentially laid down a roadmap on how to go from A to Z and what stage and then what to do when to invest into more lighting, things like that. So it kind of took the guesswork out of everything. And the course only cost me like less than $100.
Wow. So it was a really good course.
I'll link it too, and I'll add my affiliate link too, so we can, if anyone wants to download it and stuff like that, we can do that. I don't know if you're into that, but I'm definitely gonna do it on mine. So
I could definitely put it in the description because it sounds like a good course for anybody that's like into videography, and I have a lot of friends who are into videography.
And to that point, that's because you asked me the question, like, what are my goals? That's also one avenue I want to get into, because I always love teaching. I've always loved helping out people and seeing people grow. I have zero hate in my body. I have zero jealousy in my body, bro. When I see someone winning, bro, I love seeing people win. I hate to see people with it, but I feel bad about seeing people struggle and not get what they want. So ethical stuff, ethically speaking, of course.
There's something that makes you feel good by just helping people.
Honestly, big time. Because I've been that selfish guy. I've been the opposite. That's how I learned, and I got the perspective of both, like the extreme side of being super generous, which is, in my opinion, is too extreme for general real world scenario, but it's also too extreme to be super selfish, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to find a balance. But I used to be super selfish, so I know how that kind of got me. The results that got me. I was super generous and got to see how that got me. Just got me played and taken advantage of it, which maybe me having experience with it on both ends or not. And then now I've been able to, in my 31 years in life, I've been able to figure out a good balance between generosity and then selfishness, and then knowing when to adjust it accordingly depending on the person, which is ultimately what you got to do. You can't be the same with everyone, because not everyone's going to be that level of trustworthiness or what have you.
That's interesting, because I've gone through that a little bit. I wouldn't say that I've gone through like the full selfish side. I'm always the person that, I remember last time we were talking the podcast, you told me something that's my humble side, right? And I think it's that, and I've gotten taken advantage before in the past because of my humility, just trying to be nice or helping out people, where it's like I'm helping them out too much, but at the same time I'm kind of destroying me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now I don't see it as I have to be selfish. It's just I understand now that there are selfish people out there in the world.
Absolutely.
So it's not really a change within myself, but it's a change of how I see people.
Yeah, I think it's just losing that naiveness, right? Too. It's kind of how I interpret it with me personally, because same thing, same kind of evolution.
Yeah, especially in the business world.
Yes. Big time. Hey, you think the streets are fucking, not to say I'm from the streets or like that, but for my limited tiny bit 0.01% experience in the streets, dude, like, dude, business people are ruthless and savage, dude.
They're trying to get their bite and dip.
Dude, yeah, either bite or dip or or like really, really smooth talk you, shake your hand, smile you, talk about the family, and close that deal on you. And they're like, boom,
They're like,
close you a
I'm
deal.
gonna fuck you over.
Oh,
so
dead
well.
ass, bro.
Yeah.
And it's all legal in his business, bro. That's why I was like,
And now it's in the contract, and you're
you know what
fucked.
I'm saying? That's why, on that note, since it's kind of, I'm in an entrepreneurship style venture. I guess I am being an entrepreneur because I've been able to sustain myself, with a lot of sacrifices, a lot of limitations of like expenses anywhere. So literally, essentially, what I mean by that is like just enough to survive, and the rest goes towards like this business, right? Like literally, that's it, and that's it. No time or funds for anything else, really. Saying at least for the time being. But I forgot where I was going with that. But
do you ever? Because I get that too. How sometimes you're just too focused on doing your business. Or working on something that you're really passionate about, that you have to be there, and you have to be there in order for it to work out.
Definitely.
But at the same time, you start thinking, damn, I'm missing out on these opportunities of fun or pleasure or hanging out with friends or, But at the same time, like in my case, I don't really have the money to be going out in general.
Hey, I'm right there with
anyways.
you.
So it's like, even if I wanted to go out, like I had to stay here and work anyways.
For the most part.
For the most part, right?
Right there
But
with you.
does that ever come into play in your mind where you're like, man, I wish I could just stop and just go and have fun and enjoy?
You know what? Not really.
Really?
Yeah, but you know what? Because my prior experiences, my early adulthood, I really got all that out of my system. I think that was a key to like really mature me and make me get me to a point mentally where I'm like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go to the bar and just get plastered and have a good time, play beer pong at a homie's house, something like that. And get, all that good stuff, typical stuff. Part of like a frat guy, but I've done it enough times where it's like I got out of my system. Still not old. I still want to do it, but now it's the quench for that is downsized enough where my thirst, my hunger for this business and making this better still outweighs that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And plus, like, seeing the little successes that I've seen doing this, it kind of becomes a little bit of addicting, you know what I'm saying? Because realistically speaking, I could have maybe gone away with like a little bit less things that I got in order to equipment wise to get the job done. But now I look at it like really, now that I've seen proof of concept saying that like, okay, now I can say that I've been paid paid for providing a service by myself through my own abilities without the help of any corporation, no company, just me, myself. Getting out there, being my marketing team, the owner, the CEO, the marketing department, so on and so forth.
Right.
And now seeing all that, figuring out the formula a little tiny bit, and then seeing some little trickle of return on that investment becomes addicting. And now I just want to double down on that and see maybe if that helps or not. And if it doesn't, then I'll just stay where I'm at, conserve. Just depending what the energy shows me, right? So
yeah, and it definitely does help when you're having that paid income source, coming in. Because like in my perspective or my position, I'm not getting any money from doing any of this podcasting stuff
Not
at
yet.
all. Not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there are times where I'm like, man, why am I even working? I should be, when my friends call me out to be like, hey, come hang out. We're going here. We're going to do this. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
It kind of, I wouldn't say, I don't know if fear is the word, but just awareness of, I'm like, man, I'm risking a lot here.
Yes.
Like I'm risking my friends.
Definitely.
And I don't, or at least not in my mind, but I think that maybe they may be thinking, that I'm like ditching them, but it's like, no, bro, it's not that. It's that I literally cannot go out right now.
That's a funny topic you just got to. On that note, there's been a lot of misinterpretations between friends that I've had for a while and new friends too.
Okay.
That have literally been turned off by the idea, or at least misinterpreted me being busy as like me not wanting to hang out with them. Therefore, they equate that to like, oh, he doesn't like me, I don't like him, then fuck this guy, I'm out. And they don't continue. So a lot of sacrifices are made to that point because they want to do stuff. And every time they invite you, you're like, I can't. And they get over that. So they stop hitting you up. You know what I'm saying? But I try, but my remedy to that I don't know if you've tried or anything. I just reach out, dude. You know, and I keep it 1,000% with anyone, dude. Like for the most part, like you know, if they deserve that truth, you know, it's like
Yeah.
But or that insight into my life, but more so specifically, um, I just tell them, let them know, like, hey, you know, this is what's going on, bro. You know, I've been kind of broke here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just spent like so $1,000 on some equipment for our business, bro. Kind of low this month, bro. Maybe I'll catch you next month, bro. And normally, for the most part, they're cool with it, bro. And as soon as you explain that, because I'm tired of playing that phone tag shit. You know what I'm saying? Or being too cool. Because I used to be that guy. I was like, if you don't fucking hit me up, I ain't never hitting you up.
Yeah.
Bro. But,
Like I'm doing this shit right here so I can spend like the majority of my time with the people that I love.
Essentially.
You know, that's
Pretty
how I
much.
think about it. It's like, man, yeah, I'm spending all this time here by myself at home,
Yep.
working, editing, recording,
Absolutely.
talking, right? But eventually in the future, I know all of this is going to pay off so I can go out to the, I don't know about clubs, but like go out to the fancy restaurants or go out to the city, vacations, you know?
Or buy that, like, whatever, you know, new bike, new car, or whatever.
Those little luxuries,
Yeah,
you know, that I
exactly.
didn't have now.
Exactly.
That's how I think about it.
Big time.
But yeah, finding that balance is definitely important.
Yeah, at times, but there's sometimes where I'm coming to really find out because generally my whole life, I guess like one of the rules is balance with everything for the most part. Balance is key for most things. So I try to get a little bit of both, but not too much of either or, right? But I'm coming to find out that in this business, and I think it's the same for any business, especially if you're doing it on yourself, on entrepreneurial style, is you gotta like turn overdrive. I'm pretty sure you could attest to that. I've seen you, dog. So I've seen your examples, your post frequency, and things like that. So you can definitely attest to this or have that experience. But dude, you gotta go overdrive, and you gotta keep redlining that motherfucker, dude, and just staying on that gas until you see a little bit of reward, you know?
Yeah.
So
Because I'm
that's what
put in a
learning.
position sometimes where it's like, this is what I have to be doing.
Yeah.
There's
bro.
no other option.
Yeah.
You know, so it can get tiring sometimes, but at the same time, it's like a counterbalance,
Yeah.
you know, where it's that piece that I keep thinking about and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I wish I had it now.
Yeah.
But then reality comes, it's like, no, motherfucker, you're working towards that piece.
Big time. Big
You know?
time. But yeah, you know, just takes little by little etching away, dude. And that's what I'm trying to do with you, bro. So like hopefully we can collab more and help each other out and obviously, you know, grow together. Which going back to what I said, I have no jealousy. I think high seas raise all ships. I told you last time, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, the seas, it's an open ocean. No, there's no way anyone can just cover the whole ocean with their property, right? So what I'd like to do, or like my idea for the most part, is to just share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the expertise, help out wherever I can. And through just like good karma, through networking, through other opportunities later on down the line when they can afford services like that, which I've already experienced myself by providing that free work, you know what I'm saying? Which is why I think it's crucial to provide free work initially in the beginning, especially if you don't have any experience, because you make a lot of mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you don't want to do those in paid gigs. So if you're doing a free jobs or like you're doing people favors, they're more lenient on the mistakes and more willing to be patient with you while you learn the processes to get the best quality outcome in any given scenario, right? In project. So yeah, that's primarily for the most part where I'm at, you know, not successful by any means, but definitely heading in a direction where it's enough to continue investing and continue moving forward to it and seeing what comes of it, you know what I'm saying? And making it happen. So I'm always optimistic, but I'm always cautious, and also like hope for the best, prepare for the worst, you know what I'm saying? Like I always imagine myself like, which is kind of, I don't know if it's bad or not, but thinking like you could fail tomorrow. Like you could fail tomorrow or like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the most part, you can fail. I'm gonna rewind it just because you can fail tomorrow, just because for the most part you can, especially doing entrepreneurship like that, or starting your own business, right? That's what you gotta. It's a special type of that individual, which I think, in my opinion, you have, and I think, in my opinion, I have, right? Which is why I gravitated towards you. Just stating that right now.
Would you say that that's the way you live your life? Just
absolutely.
by thinking that, hey, I can fail tomorrow.
Absolutely. It just keeps me humble because I'll be pretty honest. Like I have a really natural high confidence because I guess early adulthood or early childhood and early adulthood, I was really not confident. So I proactively worked on that, and now I feel like I did too good of a job. So now I feel like I'm borderline cocky to be in chance. So,
Okay.
so I have to like kind of put systems in place to kind of make myself more balanced in a sense. Going back to kind of like my whole philosophy on the life, just
Yeah,
being
yeah.
balanced. It's not too bad to have both those qualities, but just have not too much of either one.
The way you said that, it reminded me of something that I was learning when because I wouldn't say I practice. Well, I do, but I like studying the philosophy of like Stoicism, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I heard was called memento mori, right? So it's like
Someday you'll.
remember that you're gonna die one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So the way you said that, it kind of referenced back towards that, and it's
Yeah.
very important because it's
Yep.
like, yeah, this may suck right now, or yeah, this may be fucking phenomenal that it's happening right now in front of me. But remember, tomorrow can be something different.
Big time.
So it's just the way how you play it and how you
Big
live your
time.
life. Because
Big time.
remember, one day you're gonna die,
Big time.
and you're gonna think, man, was all that I did worth it? Did I
Yeah.
live it to my full potential?
Yes.
Did I really spend all my time bitching and complaining about something that I didn't have when it could have been, in a
Big
better
time.
state?
Dude, honestly, we're going to have to hit some topics right now because you now got me like, unlock some thought process right now. But to that point, dude, momentum mori, and I think I got that because if you think about it, I mean, you're still pretty young,
Right.
like I'm 31. Like realistically speaking, another 30 years at max through lifetime, and maybe saying God willing, maybe more, may hit the 100. But even on that same note, who the fuck wants to
Man,
be like?
hold up.
No, you're good.
But yeah, you were saying memento mori.
Oh yeah, momentum mori and the thought processes and it kind of just comes with like hitting my 30s, which I think because I mean I know the perspective of being that young, mid-20s, late 20s, early 20s type dude, full of confidence, ready to get after it, take over the world, feeling of invincibility and everything like that. And then you start humbling yourself, and to get more like impactful, I have people. I kind of gauge it because it's kind of weird, but like for example, I have high school classmates that I kind of like vaguely were like acquaintances at the most,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them passed away already. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
wow.
And if
Yeah.
you think about it, just think about it just in life and the whole life. Hey, you know what? People are going to start passing because we're getting older. People start getting sick. People get in accidents, and God forbid, murders, things like that. And then I got in this phase in my life where I know of somebody, maybe not personally like through that, or maybe secondary or tertiary through friendships, know of people who've passed on. And it's becoming more and more frequent. And also to take a step further, like looking at your possibly with your, I don't know, maybe you can probably take note of this, your parents, saying maybe they have friends or respectfully, maybe family members that passed on and everything like that. And just the whole concept of life and death, you see it, especially through your own eyes as you get older, bro. Because I
Yeah.
feel like I barely entered that phase where I'm like, oh shit, this is life, bro. Like I'm technically halfway there.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm 50% there, bro. Like think
At
about
30?
it. Maybe I just try to be conservative and not overestimate. You know what I'm saying? Hoping that maybe like my chance will give me like that longevity, hit 100. But to that point, but why would I want to be 100 though? Let me ask you that. Why would you? Let me ask you that. Why would you want to be 100? Especially if you're like, say for example, I'll give you three scenarios. You live to be 100 or you die at 60, but at like you die at 60, but you're like it was an accident or something like that, or like whatever, something that like it wasn't deteriorative. So like for example, like you're still youthful, you're still able to move, healthy, you still left your normal life, but you passed that 60. Or would you take that that path where you live to like say 100, but by 60 you're already deteriorating? Say like by 60 you're in a wheelchair and you're stuck in the wheelchair. And the second scenario is like after 60 you're healthy and everything, but you go blind. And then the third scenario would be like you have an accident, but now you're just stuck to a bed, but you live. Well,
I don't know, because that third scenario, right?
That's
if
crazy.
that were to happen, I've seen some
God
people do
forbid,
something-
God forbid, honestly.
God forbid, no, for real.
But yeah.
I know, but
But you think about it, right?
yeah, you definitely do think about it. It's a
Yeah.
possibility, you know. God forbid, how you said.
Yeah.
I thank God every day that I'm
Yes, definitely.
that I'm grateful, that I'm healthy, that
Yeah.
I'm great,
Exactly.
And I do take my body in consideration, you know.
Yeah.
I try to be as healthy as I can.
Exactly.
If I were to get stuck in a wheelchair at like age 60 or something were to happen that I was in a wheelchair, I think it would put me through some sort of depressive state for a while.
Yes.
But then again, I've also seen some great people do some great things.
Like they level up.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
yes.
find something that they never thought they had. And also, like, by age 60, you already have those people that you've had with you your entire life.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like all those adventures, all those like crazy things that you think that you wanted to do when you were older, some of that you could have already done. Or two, just by being surrounded and like living, I don't know, it kind of like, I guess it kind of could calm things down a bit. It's like, well, this is what it is. You know, I'm here, but I'm able to now, I guess, experience more of what's really around me or where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely.
Because really don't have other
Take
choice.
it all in, essentially.
Right.
Gotcha. But yeah.
And living to 100, like,
yeah,
I don't think it's...
What are you going to do?
Nothing. Just live.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then also, I don't know if you thought about this angle. What about who are you going to know at that age still? That you can relate to, that you can actually go out and do stuff with. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you don't really got to do stuff. Like, I find a lot of joy just being able to talk to people.
Yeah.
So me
for
being
sure.
100 and being able to share those experiences of what I've learned through those 100 years. Like,
Yeah.
it could be some fucking 10-year-old in the year 2050, you know? And I'm
Big
like,
time.
so back in my day,
Big time.
people actually walked their dogs. And now there's a robot walking them.
You know what I'm saying? But dude, honestly, and that's another note, dude. Like, what a trip, dude. Like, the next 20 years from now, like think about it. The last 20 years, a lot has happened, a lot of change. And imagine the next 10, 15 years, 30 years, 40 years. Like, God willing, hopefully we get to witness a lot of cool
the
shit.
shortest amount of time, like in the past 5 years,
Yeah.
so many things. I think things are moving a lot faster.
Yeah, especially with
You know?
AI. Oh,
So-
my God. Dude, don't even get me started on the AI stuff. I love it. I fuck with it, but...
Yeah, no, but it's developing very, very fast. Like, just imagine the next 2 years. So many things can happen those 2 years.
Yeah, big time.
You know,
Big
you
time.
never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
So I get by 2050, it's super hard to imagine. It's
Yeah.
super hard to just think, oh, is this gonna happen? Because 50 years now could honestly happen in 3. You know, that's
In
how
terms
crazy.
of like development and like speed of like improvement of involvement in technology.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because we're
Big
like,
time.
oh, by 35, we're gonna have flying cars.
Yeah.
But little do we know that by 2026, there's flying cars.
Big time.
You know,
I see what you're saying. I see
You know,
what you're
it's
hitting.
just everything is just like this all
most
the time,
definitely.
right?
That's cool, dude.
But yeah,
Is that
living
camera
life.
still recording? Is mine? The second one there on you?
This one,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it's blinking red on the
All
outside.
right. Okay, cool. 'Cause I think it says it has a timer at 30 minutes where it cuts off, but I guess not.
No,
Because
I
it's
guess
lighter.
it's the recording.
Oh, it's only when it's in. Oh, but is this 4K? Okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'll let you know if I
Yeah,
see
if it does.
anything.
Okay, just sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like I know that life could feel like it sucks sometimes because everything just like bombards on top of you.
Mhm.
But I've focused more on the beauty of life and how
Sure.
amazing it is to just even have an extra day. So if you're telling me that I have an extra day for 100 years, it kind of excites me a little bit because every day is going to be something new.
Most definitely. To that point, and just to put like where my point, it's just a thought process, but in actuality, how I personally believe in it, I fall in line with what you're saying. Going back to what you said, momentum mori, you know what I'm saying? So I take every day like it's special and make the most of it. Or at least I live it the way that I feel is the best way that makes me feel satisfied at the end of the day. Whereas if, God forbid, I were to die tomorrow, I'd be somewhat satisfied if it were to happen tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? No, I wouldn't be there in terms of accomplishments, but in terms of like the attitude, the angles, the things I was doing on the daily process, it would make me feel if I was like in heaven looking down, like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, not where I want to start, but I made kind of far. You know what I'm saying? I made some success.
You brought up something. You said that like being at 20 years old, you get that sense of, oh, I'm invincible. I'm at the top of the world. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
and I
for
thought
most
about
guys.
that.
Yeah.
Most guys, right?
Yeah.
I thought about that. But I'm seeing a lot more often that people my age don't think like that.
No.
They think more of like, I can't do anything. I don't know what I can do.
Yeah.
I feel stuck. Everything else is just moving and I'm just going with it, you know? So do you think time has changed, like when you were 20 compared to like now that I'm 20, you know, of the mentality of how people in that age group think?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question because I feel like yes, because for me, personally speaking, for my life experience and my growth throughout my like, I guess like from kid to now, stuff like that, different things were available to me now. I mean, back then, that for the same kid at that age now, it's like night and day in terms of what access they had to. Like, for example, like I was born in 91, which I think the internet came out like in barely 1990, 1991 too. And even then, it was still like, what, dial up? It's nothing to what it is now. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have access to any of those things growing up. I didn't get my cell phone until I was in sophomore year in high school.
Okay.
And it was a flip phone. And those were the flip phones. So it wasn't even like you can play games or like that.
Yeah, there was no touch screen to it.
Yeah. So as you know now, and I don't know with, say, for example, like your generation, I don't know at what point you got a phone or stuff like that, or what time or what kind of internet access you had when you're able to get internet access and what you're able to do with it. But I feel like for what I think of the 20-year-old is like they had Call of Duty, they had GTA already, you know what I'm saying? It's like all that crazy stuff. And I feel like that mentality has changed. I don't want to get like that guy. I don't want to be that guy, but you know, I feel like they got a little softer.
Yeah.
A little bit less. Oh, definitely less social in terms of in the real world. Super social and connected for the most part, kinda, not really, because you know this show the kids are still super depressed, even though they're super connected with all the phone stuff. But besides that, their social abilities in person, live, is just kind of garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard. It kind of makes it harder sometimes to make a full conversation with some people.
Yes.
Because like me, I can have a conversation with almost anybody.
It seems
it
like
could be some just random stranger, and I'll sit there and I'll just talk and just listen and then learn something from them. What are we gonna talk about? No fucking clue.
Yeah.
But I can have that conversation.
Exactly.
But there are some people that I would like to have a conversation with, but it's kind of hard picking at them because they'll just be more closed off or more, I guess, self-aware of what they want to say.
And to piggyback off of that, they're also, like, at least in my experiences with the younger guys, dude, specifically, they almost come off almost borderline rude, you know what I'm saying? And then at least I interpret it that. But then I talk to because I'm oldest of 6, right? So I have siblings and brothers that were like around that age demographic too. And they tell me, it's like, no, I don't think he was rude because he'd be there with me. And I'd be like, this guy's a fucking asshole. Like, the fuck, he didn't say, I told him thank you and he didn't say shit. Or like, he said please. And he was just very dry.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like his customer service, for example. Like,
I've noticed that. No, that's true.
And it's very dry. And they're emotional, bro. Like you piss them off, bro. Like they're bound to do anything, bro. Like depending what specific age group, but like that's the young people category, quote unquote. But I don't know, man. They have shorter fuses, inability to control their emotions for the most part. I mean, not to say that I haven't had my own like emotional outbursts and been like a fucking uncontrollable fool, but I outgrew that. You know what I'm saying? And I quickly realized that's not the way to go about life, right? But it seems like the younger cats, and they're still staying with that mentality, like that childlike mentality. You know, not to say I'm the most mature person in the world either. Let me just really make that abundantly clear. I'm not perfect by any means, but
I mean, you're expected to learn more as you get older, right?
Yeah,
like,
mature,
he's just your
wiser,
kid, right? You want to be more mature. You want it to be that wise old man when you do become that old man.
Definitely.
Right? But you see some people and they never mature. It's like, okay, you're 50 and you still act like a 20-year-old, but that doesn't really fit together.
Exactly.
You're not acting your age.
Exactly. And then to that note, like, not to say that like my generation was any much better. Like, I feel like even in my generation, like the generation before us was like, damn, you guys are like shitty, bro. You guys are still acting like babies. More specifically, Gen Z millennials. I think I don't know what demographic.
I don't even know either. I get the confused all the time.
Yeah, Gen Z millennial, some shit like that. I think, but whatever generation they say, like we were pretty bad off. But I can imagine it being way worse now, especially, and it feels like it is. But socially wise.
socially wise.
Yeah, socially speaking. Not to say intelligence, not to say like ability, talent, skills, all that stuff like that. That's at an all-time high because you see that creativity come out.
Oh, you're right.
With the invent of social media, which my generation didn't have access to for the most part. We did, but it was at the scale it is now.
But at the same time, like that whole creative side, right? Or even the intellectual side, right? Like I could say my parents' generation where they had to go out and work and
industrious.
Very industrious
is the term.
Work with your hands, right? Like that was, you needed to know how to use your hands, and now it's like you're not expected to know. You don't. It's not something that's, I guess, needed except when it is, and then when you put yourself in that situation, you're kind of fucked because you don't know what to do. And then with the creative side, a lot of people, they halt their creativity because I know that people can be very, very creative. I've seen them create some crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
But then when it comes down to it, where it's like, why don't you just do this all the time? It's a thought of incompetence that just comes into their mind. And one thing that you brought up about the social media, it's like they already saw somebody create something, and it's like they've already seen so many people create so many different things that now it sometimes can feel like they're left with nothing. So it's like instead of them creating, they create by watching somebody else create, and that kind of, at the same time, it fulfills them, but also depletes them of their creativity.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah. Like, as they're kind of like just like copying and pasting kind of strategy, kind of mean?
In a way, yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
You also said that some of the things that you had in your generation when you were growing up that were available to you, that we don't have them. And I thought about that. And at the same time, I think that we do have them, but we tend to take a lot of those things for granted. I mean, I think we talked about it in the last podcast episode that we did, that even you go outside and you don't really see your neighbors walking around with their family. You go to parks and they're almost always empty. And if they do, the parents, I went to the park with my girlfriend the other day, and this mom, she took her kid to the park, and while the kid was like playing, the kid was like probably 3, right? And he's playing around, but the mom is on the phone just like this the entire time.
How old was she?
I don't who the
like
mom.
The mom, yeah, like I guess like mid 30s, 40s, like that. So
mid to late 30s.
So that's a young mom, man. So that's a generation where like the technology was to the point where they kind of grew up like sucked into the phones, like how most kids are now.
Yeah, and
so that's like the after effects now as an adult.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, your kid's playing and like you're just on your moments,
phone, right in front of you.
Yeah,
fleeting and going by. And I mean, not to say that maybe she was like focused doing something business wise and just had to, and the dad wasn't involved or dad was working, whatever. Not to say, but yeah, to that point, a lot of that does happen where people just live and stay in their phones.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that I'm fucking perfect either. I catch myself too. I have my little siblings. My little sister, she's 6. Little sister Valerie, she's 6, and she has so much energy, man. Like that little girl can play all day long. If she went to school, but if she was here, she'd be playing Bruno Mars off of that Alexa all day long.
I love it.
Like every single day. And I catch myself, I'm like, dude, I need to work. I really do need to finish this work. But then I know that sometimes I'm like, man, this work's still going to be here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go out with my sister, have some fun, play with her for a little bit. And then afterwards, it's like, I guess that one stopped.
Yep.
I guess knowing, again, the balance to it of work and life,
Big time.
The camera,
yeah.
Nice.
So it's not bad. I mean, not to say, because that it's perspective, right? Some people that's a lot, and people who can't. But if you can swing it, for people out there can, if you want to get into content creation, definitely recommend the Canon R50. The price and the lenses and everything, just the stock that comes within the box, just perfectly enough to get you by. And it's a brand new camera system, so it has like the modern camera settings and the sensors, like the same sensor that comes like on their like $5,000 cameras and stuff like that. So, and the results are pretty damn good. So
I mean, and even if you don't go with the camera, you just said it, start with your phone.
Exactly, dude. Honestly, because I got a couple paid gigs doing content creation with the phone. I did a music video for a rapper who's actually kind of blowing up. Shout out Juno, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing good. I see you blowing up. I'll show you who he is, dude. He's a cool dude. Long story short, dude lives in the LA area. I met him through the DJ contact. Once again, I did that through work. Made a network connection that ended up paying off. And he just got out of prison, right? African American guy, freaking blood, you know what I'm saying, gang member, went to jail for attempted murder and stuff like that for a while. So he's like serious guy. He's about it. He's about it big time. But such a nice guy, super respectful, you know what I'm saying, has his baby mama, has a brand new baby boy, you know what I'm saying. I met them both and everything like that, and he's not about that, you know. He's about his money, business, his family, and whatever. That's why I really fuck with him too. So shout out to you, you know. But yeah, freaking I met him because the DJ met him when he went on a date with some like random chick, right? And they made contact, kind of like hit it off well. Put my name out there because he was working with me already, because I was doing the free work for him, right? I want to highlight that part, free work, right? How it's technically not free because I technically got money out of that free work, so it was kind of paid work, you know, if you really think about it. But he reached out telling me that I do video services, right? So he reached out to me, locked down a deal, and I was able to make like a couple $100 doing this simple, very simple, because I was ready to go all out, go heavy duty with, like, you know, I had a phone gimbal, the phone itself, the lenses for the ND filters, and my anamorphic, but I didn't use it that time, just the ND and the CPL. And did a short 45-second him, no like audio added, just raw. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and I had a little mic that you connect on the bottom of your phone, and it's a little like microphone, which were like $15-16 on Amazon.
I think I've seen those before.
Yeah, they worked out pretty decent, bro.
Nice.
Like the quality was decent. And yeah, with the gimbal, and then with the little audio, and then with the quality of the phone, and with the little filter to control like the essentially sunglasses for your phone.
Yeah.
That thing was just clutch.
You had a whole rig just for your phone.
Yeah, but honestly, it was all within that much space, and all that kit alone, not including the phone, probably looking at $400-$500. Think about it, but like pieced out over like you know, a little bit. The first thing I got the gimbal for sure, and the next thing were like the ND filters, because ND filters are super good, and so especially if you do any outdoor shooting, which I think most people do, and even in some cases indoor, the ND filters are good, and the CPL filters, which I was able to get one via Sandmark that is all combined. So it's a variable ND filter is what it's called, and it controls the polarizing. So say you're doing video and you have glass in front of your subject, you can control it by turning it, and it controls it whether you can see through with that or see the reflection of yourself, or whichever angle you're looking at it. Kind of like you'll see. I'll have to show you examples and everything like that.
It's like you control the shade of the ND filter, right?
Yes,
a variable ND filter.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's a CPL aspect to it, which is a circular polarizer, which I didn't bring it today, but yeah, it's hard to explain, but it's not, there's sunglasses part, which is a variable ND part, and then there's a CPL part, which controls the reflections, so to speak. I think that, from my understanding, it's the reflections. So, but anyways, not to get too stuck on that one singular topic. And I met him, and I was able to do a simple, quick video, and that video got like 5,000 views on his page, right? Which is it was up. It's not his most watched video, but it was up there.
Yeah, it did good.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. And he still, hopefully, maybe at some point we'll probably do some more business together in the future, but we'll see. Because he's actually blowing up, bro. He's actually starting to get out there. He came on Adam 22.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On No Jumper.
A No Jumper. He came out on No Jumper recently. This like a week ago or some shit like that. No, not a week ago, like maybe a month ago. Yeah. And he still likes my posts, so I know he's still kind of like that, and he still sends me DMs me like random stuff that he posts, and I show some love and everything.
Yeah, definitely hit him up again.
Yeah, big time. And I told him we will. You know what I'm saying? I told him I want to do a music video, and then I'm pretty sure if I reach out to him like on business, he'll be like down to work with me.
Be like, bro, I got some new gear. I'm wanting to test it out. Let's get this done.
And now I can, especially with the 2 camera, set up and everything, and the lights and everything, dude. It's beautiful, bro. But it's blessings, Which that was the reason why I didn't ask earlier, because I felt a little like intimidated, especially now I've seen him kind of blowing up and everything like that. So, I want to be able to match his growth with my level of experience and equipment, which I had the experience now, but now I needed the equipment. But now with this, God, thankfully, thank you God, blessings all around. I was able to get to the level now I can do. Which, at a business standpoint, which means if I can get on him, the guy who's been on No Jumper, I can advertise that. That's just more money possibly in the future, or more collaboration, more networking, more opportunities to make business. You know what I'm saying?
Opportunities.
Yeah, so it's all marketing, you know,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is big point why I'm here today too, to market myself too, along with helping you add content for your show too. So that's kind of the main angle there.
You have 10 years on me, bro.
Yeah,
Right.
decade, bro.
What would be some advice that you've learned from those 10-year differences? Like if you were to talk to yourself again, 21 years old, right? What would be some advice that you would give to them from what you've experienced and for what you think you will experience in the future?
It's a good question. I'd say plan for the future, but focus on what is in front of you on a daily, on the small things, because the small things ultimately add up and what's the word? Compound over time. And they end up causing the biggest changes in you, depending on which direction, whether it's constructive habit or destructive habit. So be mindful of that. I would tell myself that. On another note with relationships, if people don't want to be in your life, don't hold them back. Let them go on their way. Because if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Because I used to be a super lover boy, and I was like, I'd always be kind of like you know, like just so I really I really fell in love for the people that I was with. You know what I'm saying? So for that being said, the heartbreak was real, but so therefore I had to practice on my detachment. You know what I'm saying? So I think if I tell my younger self, I'd be like, be more chill and understand that there always going to be something better, which ultimately there was, which is awesome because I lived my life long enough, and I've been single long enough and in relationships long enough, where it's like, dude, every relationship I've been every much like levels better and better.
Right, because you gained that experience.
You gain that experience. You learn what you like, what you don't like. You know what I'm saying? You realize what you're willing to tolerate, what you're not willing to tolerate. And on the physical aspect, you realize what kind of girls you like. You know what I'm saying? What style, what flavor, what build, the body type, all that stuff. Personality type, you know what I'm saying? And then similar goals. And it's just things that you don't think about, especially in your early 20s, that because you're just thinking about getting it in, right? For the most part. For the most part, right? And all that's come secondary. But when you get older and you realize, like, especially if you have experience and you've been there, so it's not something that's like it's not it's a resource you have access to. You know what I'm saying? You're blessed and thankful enough to like be able to do what you gotta do. So with that being said, when it's not like something you put on a pedestal, you start focusing on what is important, and important is like the mental characteristics, the personality types, and the attitude overall. So, but you don't learn that. I didn't learn that until recently, though, bro. So, like, I didn't figure out the formula until like recently. So,
would you say experience or just living was what allowed you to learn that?
it's living for sure, one, and experiencing, and just not just staying in your room the whole time. Which, unfortunately, going back to that statement you made about younger cats, they don't really have, because by the time I was like, for example, by the time I was like 19, I was already living on my own. On an island on Catalina, you know what I'm saying, paying my own rent, stuff like that, living my own life, making money.
Yeah, just living on your own sounds almost impossible right now.
Especially now. No, I agree, big time. So not to say that like, oh, why you guys aren't easily doing it, because I know it's difficult and everything for sure, and it seems to be getting in the worst direction, where it gets harder and harder every year, unfortunately. But to the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, living the experiences, you don't see many of that cats doing so. So what I would say is, one, live that experience, go out, experience life, make those mistakes. Hopefully they're not mistakes that change your life to the negative direction, like prison and jail, death, anything like that. But because that does happen. Sometimes you experience life too much, so you got to find that balance.
So learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes, but mistakes that you can learn from, not that will like, you know, oh, I learned a mistake that I can't murder people and now I'm in prison for like life or on death row. Not
Didn't
shit like
know that.
Like, you know, say, ooh, wow. You know what I'm saying? But like shit like that. But just like things about like relationships and stuff like that. And also be aware of them and be able to retrospectively look at that experience and keep the valuable moments of what, look at it this way. I look at every experience this way recently. Not recently, this is like the last like 4 or 5 years. I've looked at life this way, was this experience good or bad trying to teach me? The universe is trying to teach me something with this experience, you know what I'm saying? To kind of puts a little bit of like rhyme or reason to life, right? And sometimes life's random experiences or events, right? You know, whether it be family issues, relationship issues, personal issues, exterior issues, you know, issues with the world, whatever have you. Those, and if they come to my mind and I think about it and it makes me feel some kind of way, good, bad, negative, neutral, in between, I ask myself the question, like, what's the universe trying to teach me about this? Or in other words, if you're religious, what's God trying to teach me about this lesson? What's the lesson that needs to be learned from this experience, from this event? And once I started looking at things like that, I feel like that accelerated my ability to mature, become wiser, and attain my goals a lot more quicker overall on a super macro level.
Yeah, I do take that into consideration a lot. I've seen myself doing it and remind myself a lot, what can I learn about this situation? As hard as it can be sometimes. You know, I've had my crashes, my downfalls, and I always tend to come back to that same question. So I'm kind of glad that you're reassuring me in a way to just believe in that. That there's something that needs to be learned from this. It's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad. It's just a lesson in itself.
Going back to your followings of Stoicism, you know, sense of Stoic belief, because I forgot to mention this, but I'm a huge Stoic person too. Because Stoicism, especially for a man, a guy, a male, is essential. I think, you know, because we don't have the luxury to be like, you know, crybabies or just all those stereotypical, you know, gender role type, you know, societal structures, you know, of like saying men ain't supposed to cry and whatever. We don't get that luxury. So being Stoic helps cope with life, I guess, in to speak, for lack of a better term. Not to say coping, because I love life. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have it, and I'm eternally grateful. But for lack of a better way to deal with life, you know what I'm saying, to deal with life. And it's like sometimes ups, which you still got to deal with things, and their downs. That makes sense? So
just...
that'd be my advice.
Yeah, Stoicism definitely is something that I want everybody to start practicing a little bit more of. I feel like it's only beneficial to the people.
Dude, and everyone around, I think.
Yeah, everyone around you too, you know? It's like, all right, that guy seems like he's got his shit together. Maybe honestly, I can learn a thing or two from him.
On that note, it opens up another thing I want to talk about, because it's perception, right?
Okay.
And how that ties in with Stoicism, because that Stoic nature, being in scenarios, especially on professional scenarios, especially related to my business, has tremendously helped. You know, because I go into scenarios, and sometimes a lot of these scenarios are stressful, right? In life and just regular 9-to-5 jobs and just stuff like that. Having a Stoic mindset and having that ability to process information without it, at least at the front, at least emotionally on your face, not showing that it's causing you any kind of rift or throwing you off center. And it gives you the ability to process it and then come up with an actual actionable response to it.
Yeah. Like thinking before you say.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just been tremendously helpful. So that'll be kind of my 2 cents on that part.
Yeah. We have hit the 1 hour mark. We're at 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's where we want to keep it. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
for editing purposes, you know.
For editing purposes, yeah.
We got a lot of work
but we'll definitely have more podcasts in the future. You said you wanted to start your podcast.
Yes, perhaps. It's more, once again, going back to me trying things out.
Experimenting,
Experimenting, getting experience. Also, on a business standpoint, I want the audience, whoever watches this, to understand this. Like, anything's experience, look at it that way. What can I learn from the experience? What's it trying to teach me? And then add an aspect of entrepreneurial, capitalistic mindset. I think that's a good formula for upgrading your life, at least anecdotally speaking. But I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. The podcast. Yeah. But that's something that I'm trying to experiment with and just get experience with. And it's also something that I can market as a skill set for clients who want to start their own podcast. Because I'm sure you yourself know, when you first started or thought about starting a podcast, you're probably like, what the fuck do I need? I know I need a camera. I know I need an internet connection. What else do I need? And I'm sure you probably dove into it not knowing that there's a lot more that you do need to know about it, right?
Yeah. So, you learn. That's the thing about podcasting. And I was thinking about this earlier today.
Yeah.
I was like, why do I like podcasting? Like, is this something that I was doing and now I'm just doing again? So that's definitely not it at all, because I do enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is it that I like doing podcasts?
Yeah.
And it was that. It was, I don't see myself ever stopping growing from these podcasts. Like every single episode is going to be something brand new. I'm always going to be learning something brand new from different people.
Yes, definitely.
So I think that's what excites me.
It's just exciting now that you put it that way, bro. That's pretty really badass.
You know.
So and they're coming to you, and you're going to be in setting, and it's a one-on-one setting where, and you got these things on, so it's like undivided attention. Like I mean, it's like the Joe Rogan style, but dude, that's amazing because you pick up experience and you learn through other people's trials and tribulations, and you learn the hacks and pretty much just a valuable wealth of information that you can apply for yourself in your own life and redistribute it for other people to like take that into consideration and benefit from.
Yeah, because I do get teased sometimes a little bit about like, hey, this guy wants to have a podcast.
Like, who is this guy? Whatever.
Yeah, all of a sudden, or I've gotten this comment a lot. It's like, this is why everybody shouldn't have a podcast. Some shit like that, right? Yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm still figuring this shit out. But the only difference is that I'm actually taking in every single episode, like all the information that comes into me. And I only see that as a strength. Exactly. So yeah, there may be some episodes that we kind of just fuck around and have fun. Sure. But there's also a lot of learning to be made.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. There's value in everything that you put out there just by putting it on camera and posting it. Why? Because to some people, certain videos will give them that perspective, that paradigm shift that allows them to look at things that ultimately benefits their life. And then other people are going to look at other videos or the same video and they're be like, oh, this is silly. So people are so different. I figured there's enough people and you're getting enough traction out there where you get enough eyes where there has bound to be at least a percentage of those people that are going to find value in every single episode. So for you putting it all distributed and covering all wide topics, I think that in itself, you're hitting it out the park, in my opinion. Just observing wise on you. And
what are you looking forward to when you start testing out or experimenting with your podcast?
Well, also on that note, it's curious. You guys want to know who's going to be the guest? To be him. So we're going to be doing our first podcast. And to answer your question, not sure.
Why is podcasting one of those things that you did want to try? Like out of all the things you could experiment with videography, like in your mind, like I could definitely knock out a podcast for somebody, right?
Yeah.
That camera died.
Okay, cool.
But what made you want to start or at least try out your own podcast?
Just to say that I tried it. That's it.
Cool.
And since I was a kid, no, not a kid, but like a young adult, when podcasts was kind of becoming a big thing already, especially because I grew up watching Joe Rogan too from the beginning too, for the most part. Not like beginning, but like a few years into it, once he started to get like more mainstream, kind of like barely jumping the bandwagon. I wouldn't say it wasn't. I was like, oh, I'm not the day ones, but I did jump the bandwagon a little bit. But long story short, it seemed cool and it looked interesting, and I saw that perspective that you just put into perspective, like how you're getting value, and on a personal level, you yourself, the podcastee or the interviewer of the podcast, you're learning so much from all these people, and on top of that, you're putting in display. So I saw the value in it because there's value in it big time. And as you know, because I mean, look at the world where it's at now, especially with podcasting, dude. It's like the biggest thing now, kind of to the point where it's almost a cliche, like how like people are, to your point, are saying, "Oh, not everyone. This is why everyone shouldn't have a podcast." But it's because there's value in it. You know,
and conversation. And
it's hard to ignore it. You can't ignore it.
Right.
You know, and also it would be cool to, like, you know, God willing, when you're older, you look back at yourself and you're like, oh shit, look at me at 31, and you know, and or like you yourself at your age, and then now you're seeing at a different standpoint, a different mentality, and it's cool to kind of see.
Well, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, bro. So you see the evolution, bro, and you have it even more perfect, dude, because you have it in a sequential order, which is like very, very. You'll be able to see the micro changes, bro, because you document so much of yourself and putting so much of yourself on camera. So that's also another perspective, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I never thought about that one. Me at 50 years old, just like, hey guys, welcome back to Joan's Kickback podcast.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, it's fucking insane.
And then being able to look back at me now, like at 21 years old, like that's going to be insane.
It's insane. So, you know, shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So personal, and then business-wise, and then curiosity. That's the reason why.
Curiosity is always the best one, yeah.
Exactly. And it just happens to be the next niche on the list. That's it, really, too. So I put a list out there, and then slowly just knocking them up down. And then, like I mentioned earlier, knock out the ones that either are not lucrative or not creative enough for me, and pick the ones I don't want. Leave the ones I don't want, I mean. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be recording that on Friday. Are we recording that here or at yours?
We're going to do it here again, too. Cool. So, but this time I'll be taking more like the interview song, which I think, I'm not sure. I might have a preset of questions, which are going to cover your personal life a little bit, hit more like a random section. I'm gonna be more a little bit like structured, like see, kind of just experiment. That's just kind of where my mind is taking me. That's kind of my mind wants me to put it as my first podcast, so I'm gonna do it that way and see how it goes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. So
But yeah, that's gonna be the end to this podcast episode. 1 hour and 13 minutes. We got my guy. You tell them where they can find you.
Yes, definitely. You can find me on Instagram. Would be the best place to find me, which is at RoninFilmHaus on Instagram. But the house is spelled Haus. Everything else is spelled as it sounds. So Ronin Film House, Haus. So follow me on Instagram. My link's in there too with all my contact information. So if you want to get a hold of me, and also if you want to collab, also if you want to need some work done, photography, videography services, music videos, events like weddings, quinceañeras, things like that, just let me know, and we'll definitely be able to assist you in providing you the quality video that you need to get the job done with your whatever content you need.
But yeah,
So,
had a
thank you very
great
much.
conversation. All of that is going to be down in the description below. So you guys can hit him up, shoot him a follow,
Yes.
see what he's up to. His podcast episode experiment project is going to be
Experiment,
coming
yeah.
out soon.
That's it. Not even
I'm
a name
excited
for the
for
podcast yet, so we're just
Not
gonna do it. Yeah, and then we'll see how it feels. If you want to help me with that too, that'd be
I'll
kinda cool.
try.
All right, cool.
I'll
Just
try
throw
my
some-
best.
Just throw some into the pots for options. you know,
Right, we'll pick
different
something out.
perspective.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys happen to enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, any audio listening platform, come over to YouTube. We have a video version here. We have all the lights and cameras set up, so I don't know exactly how different this one's going to be compared to the past ones, but I know it's going to look cool regardless.
Yes, definitely, and look for more of upgraded quality, because me and Joan. Sorry, I wanted to say Jovan for some reason. Joan.
You're good.
Are going to be working more together. You know, like I said, collaborating more. We don't keep this. There's no gatekeeping here. We want to help everyone rise. So, yeah. So expect more of this coming soon. Hopefully.
Yep, that's going to be it. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll catch you guys all in the next episode.